And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Vanessa Vega from Puerto Rico, who communicated with God during a divine intervention, and today we're going to learn about it. Vanessa, thank you so much for being my guest, and welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
If you don't mind, Vanessa, can we start on the day your intervention happened and go from there?
Sure. Well, back at that time, it was 2017. And back at that time, I was having a lot of turmoil in my life, a lot of emotional turmoil. It seemed to me that life was being very, extremely hard, extremely hard to keep on with it. And I was in a lot of pain, deep pain, grieving. I was lost because, you see, I was an overachiever all my life. And I couldn't understand. I was lost. I couldn't understand how I had arrived to this point, right? Everything was being tested. My relationships, everything. My finances. I'm an entrepreneur, so I was single. I am a single mom also. So all these things came together, and I had a lot of frustration, a lot of numbness, apathy. So I decided, and I was suffering also from depression and anxiety. I decided this one day, this morning, still in bed, to pray as I always did, right? And but this day particularly was a very emotional day for me because I had at the time I have a court proceeding that was coming up, and I was very stressed with that. And while still in bed, I decided this time to pray, but it was different because this time I remember asking God, right, to that I didn't want to have any more control over my life. I wanted to surrender control to Him, and I wanted to be divinely guided in what to do in my life situations and all these turmoils, right? I didn't want to engage in having to, I just couldn't. I was too overwhelmed. And right there, the powerful thing that happened was that right there, when I asked for the surrendering, for the help, immediately I felt this overpowering presence, and I heard clearly the voice of a male voice, very powerful one. And he told me, Vanessa, throw yourself to the floor, to the ground, that I'm gonna speak to you, because I was in my bed. So I leaped. I didn't even question. I knew intuitively, I knew who this was, and I threw myself to the ground. And I can't describe the power, the energy that I was receiving was so overwhelming. I was sobbing, out of breath, totally out of breath, hyperventilating. I felt like they were sucking the air out of my lungs. And actually I felt pain, but the curious thing was that the pain, as strange as it sounds, was a good pain. I didn't see it as a bad pain. I knew I was being cleansed. And this voice immediately started, all this was happening at the same time, everything at the same time. And in a Gnostic way, right? I received all these messages about the situations, answers that I had been wanting to have about all these situations that I was confronting at that time. And they were being answered one by one. But at the same time, I was being like healed, like cleansed. And the only thing I remember that I could do, because I was sobbing so hard and I couldn't even open my eyes. I just felt all the my tears going down and down and down, and not being able to breathe. And the voice answered everything. And I remember I only nodded and nodded and nodded to everything he told me. And he also gave me instructions on what I should do on certain situations that I had at that time. And this conversation went for 2 hours almost. So it was very long. And he kept on telling me about things that I had to do on my behalf, about certain people that I needed to be a catalyst for other miracles to happen. And he was telling me all this, and I was, but how am I going to do that? Because these were people that make me feel pain, a lot of pain. And I was trying to stay away, stay away as much as I could. But he told me, he answered me back, this conversation, he answered me back, he said, I'm going to give you the strength to do that, but you have to promise me that, because I need you. So he gave me that job too. He gave me, and I felt from this being, I felt so much love. It was overpowering. The love, the acceptance I felt, and I felt so privileged and minuscule before this divine presence that I was, because here I was in the floor, and this divine being was speaking to me under these circumstances that I was going on. And I felt extremely honored, extremely and grateful, because I knew that it takes, at that time, remember, this wasn't an NDE. I was alive and I was in my body. So, and when we are in our body, this was something that I knew at the moment. We're not and also in the situations I was living, I wasn't in a good vibration. So when this divine being came down to my vibration to speak to me, I knew the grandiosity of what he was doing for me, and he was healing me. And no words can explain that, right? I honestly felt, and when I came to see, I even, at one point, I tried to open my eyes, but I didn't even dare. The reverence I felt, it was total, my head was totally turned down and like bowing down, right? And I actually felt myself levitating from the floor. And I couldn't stop crying and the emotions, right? And I still to this day, I'm sorry, still to this day, feel all that power. And it was overwhelming, totally overwhelming. And right after that, when it like, I felt some healing. I could get up, but I still could feel myself receiving information right after he left. I didn't want it to end. It was like, I describe it like addicting. You don't want it to end ever. It's like the NDEs that people don't want to come back, right? Once they're in contact, they feel so good. And you feel so accepted that honestly, you don't want it to end. You don't. But it had to end. So he was there for me for a long time. But specifically with one situation, he answered me, he told me, Vanessa, for this situation, tonight, this same night, you are going to receive the answers you're looking for. And sure enough, Jeff, that same night, I had an event that I was attending already, a music event, a public music event that I was attending to. And this had happened in the morning, and I went to this public event where thousands of people were there. And out of nowhere, this lady from the thousands of people sat right beside me and started speaking to me. Little did I know that all of a sudden she engaged in a conversation. And this woman was the one that helped me with that specific situation that I was, she actually resolved the issue for me. It was incredible. The confirmation for me was so overpowering, right? Right there, as I was dumbfounded, right? After that confirmation came, confirmation after confirmation after confirmation of all the situations I had been told during that morning intervention came pouring, one after the other one. And right immediately, one of the things that I physically could see was that my stress levels, my anxiety was turned down totally. I used to drink pills for that, clonopine and and nothing of that. The stress and anxiety had lowered significantly. Although many of the circumstances that I was living were still there, were still there. I started to have psychic abilities also. I started to have claircognizance and clairsentience.
Vanessa, first I want to say thank you for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you.
Now, did that voice identify itself as God, or did you just have a knowingness?
No, it was a knowingness for sure. You know when you are in divine contact, when you come in contact with these energies, you know who it is. It is, again, it is agnostic. You automatically, once in contact with that, and you don't even question it. It's knowing that it's within you.
Were you hearing the voice like inside your head, or were you hearing it through your ears, like it was booming through your room?
Well, actually, it had a sound. That was the strangest thing, but it was a powerful sound from within. It had sound, powerful, very extremely, and actually very authoritative also, powerful and authoritative. And he gave me those instructions to the ground, go throw yourself to the ground. I'm gonna speak to you, it was very powerful. Obviously I understood he was trying to intervene, actually intervene immediately with this, to all the overwhelming things that were going on with me emotionally, right? That I was feeling. So yes, intuitively, I just knew. He doesn't identify.
In the beginning,
No.
Did you have any doubts? Like, is this real? Am I going crazy? Or did you know, like, oh, this is for real?
No, I knew it was for real. No, definitely. Nothing more real than that, Jeff. When you go, there's no doubt. And nothing, not at all. You just know you are in divine presence. After it happens, yes, that because the mind then, remember, these are you're in contact. This is something that comes from your spirit, from your being. This is the contact that we have, right, with the other side. And when we once we're out of that contact, we lose that contact, the mind takes over. The mind takes over and starts putting the doubts in, right? So that you keep questioning yourself. But it was very obvious that emotions play a definite, very powerful, it's everything is how you feel it. Remember, and I talk about this a lot, we don't experience has to do with feeling. It doesn't have to do with thought at all. Feelings shape people. Emotions shape you, transform you. When you feel something, you feel the pain, when you feel all these things, those are the things that make you who you are, truly. But thoughts don't. Thoughts don't. And this was very key to my awakening process, because I became very aware of how emotions are so important in a human life, to understand and be able to connect with these divine energies that we always have the power to connect to, but we don't know it. We're unaware on how to do it, right? And this was something that was brought very to my attention very prominently. How emotions are so important to be paid attention.
Can you share with us some of the most impactful things that God told you during that encounter?
Yes, I can surely, because some things were about me, right? Many things were about, because he was intervening with me, this first encounter, but definitely this about the emotions. And how, because remember at the time I was feeling depressed, I was having all these anxiety, I was feeling numb, I was feeling apathy, I was feeling all kinds of, I was lost. So all these, he made it very evident, right? That I needed, same as me, humanity needed to pay attention to our emotions, because our emotions are the ones that are the link, their energy in motion, right? Emotions are energy in motion, are the link between the physical part and our non-physical or spirit side, right? It is the common grounds. And not so, because he told me so, not so the mind, the thoughts. That thoughts were a product of our hidden emotions, undealt emotions, and undealt traumas that we had. They were the result. And if our undealt faced emotions were not dealt with, our thought process was not going to be a good one. And neither so our decision making also wasn't going to be a good one. So this is something I cannot stress more, because I believe this is the key point to my awakening, and that he stressed on that particular, so that I could see how my emotions and undealt traumas that I had from all the past that I had lived had brought me to the actual situations that I was living right now in my life, up to that moment in my life. How I had not dealt with them, I had not faced them and purged them. And in not facing them, and he told me also that all humanity, he said to me, don't feel bad, you're not the only one. Everybody deals with it in this way. And this is precisely the divine order that we should deal with things. Emotions need to be faced, not bypassed. But unconsciously, because we feel pain, and these are painful situations that we don't want to fully face. We think sometimes we face them, but not fully, and purge those emotions, because emotions are energy in motion. And if we keep on hoarding them in this way, we accumulate all that energy, all that negativity inside of us. And this was garbage. This is what he showed me. He showed me like a garbage that I was full of it. And he was cleaning me of it, right? He was making me cleaning, literally cleaning all these low vibrations I had inside. And that humanity also needed to do it in this way.
How long ago did this encounter happen?
It was in 2017.
Oh, that's so not too long ago.
March, yes, not too long ago, no.
Would you say that during that encounter, God cured your anxiety?
Definitely. Jeff, that was like turning a switch off like that, just like that, boom, totally off. Never again I've dealt with a pill in my life, never, ever. And then again, I was surprised because here I was, I still had these situations. I still have the situations, many of them. They were starting to resolve themselves, but I had them at the time. Yes, definitely healing, definitely.
Did God give you any indication of things like who are we and why do we come here?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And he said that we are part of him. We are not separate. And I could know this because since I was there in his presence, when you are in their vibration, that's side vibration is very high, right? High frequency, very high, extremely high. And he told me, Vanessa, you have to see that this is the message for the world also. You have to see the divinity inside of you, because you are part of me. You make me up. I am what I am, right? The beginning and the end, the circle of life, that unending circle, eternity. And I am made up of you, of the sum of all of you, of the sum of all the universal energy there is. That is what I am. I am not the man sitting there watching over you with a white robe and a beard. That's not what I am. He was very emphatic about this. That is not what I am. I am energy, and I am a part of you. You make me up, and I need you to be shining in your purest energy and your highest vibration, so that you can make me evolve. Because when you do this, you are leveling up the vibration of the universe. You are, and also me, because I am the glue that glues everything together. So I need all of you to do this for me and evolve and grow, expand energetically, so that you can contribute, and energy expands. That's why we live in an expanding universe, as scientists have found now, right? That universe is continuous. Yes, because this is one. He showed me through universal law. Which I didn't know about at that time. Universal law, that one of the laws is the law of vibration, that energy is always in continuous movement and vibration, spiral, and in continuous expanding. expanding movement, not contracting. So if we are the sum of him, if we make him up and we are vibrating high or low, we affect the totality of the totality. And this was profound for me because I had never seen myself as part of God. I had always learned in my early years that he was something that I couldn't reach. And this is how he told me, everybody sees me like something that I'm far away. No, and I am within you. You make me up. You're like a little particle, a little ray inside of me. And I need those energies to be pristine and as high vibration as they can be, so that we all can keep on evolving and growing and expanding, because that is my nature. That is my make. I need to grow.
Vanessa, before this intervention happened, were you a spiritual person at all?
Yes, I thought I was a spiritual person. At least I considered myself, because my upbringing was in a Christian, Christian school up to my 12th grade. And then after that, I started to question a lot. Something inside of me told me that there was so much more that I wasn't, I wasn't trusting at the time that it was the whole truth of what goes on. And I started questioning things that I started to see in religion that didn't vibe with me anymore. And so I wasn't practicing it at all. But I did have how would I say, certain situations that now, looking back on them now, I am really aware that were part of my spiritual awakening, just that at the moment I wasn't aware of that. Because you take them for granted, I guess. Mm-hmm. And up to this whole ordeal, I had not known about what a spiritual awakening was. So yes, I even had books about spirituality that I had encountered on my way and I had read and I really liked, and about past lives. With Brian Weiss's books and all that, because I was really interested in all this. All this really did resonate with me somehow, but I wasn't immersed, in it.
So you met this woman at this musical event.
Yes.
Do you think she was sent by God, or do you think she was an angel, or something else?
Well, actually, what I understood and I got from this experience, this confirmation, right? Because God knows everything, right? This is a everything is in there, all knowledge, future, past. Remember, in that side, we're always hearing your guests talking about this, right? There's no time, no space, and so everything happens at the same time. So he knew what was going to go. I certainly didn't at that moment, but he was answering that same night I would receive confirmation of what I was needing to know about.
What was the confirmation that you received?
Well, this lady worked, at the time I was dealing, as I said, with court issues, with custody issues with my kids. And this lady and also setting all the how would I say, the pension, the pensions of my kids, and this lady worked with the agency, with the public, and she was the secretary of the director of. So And I had never seen this lady before, and she engaged with me, started speaking to me, and started asking me personal stuff. I usually don't talk to people about my personal life like that, right? And I was astonished that she started asking me stuff like, "Are you married? Are you divorced? Do you have kids? Do you have this?" She was asking me, and and the father is a good father. He pays for his alimony and everything, and she was asking me all this, and here I was saying, "Oh my God." And so I told her that I had this situation, and she said, "You know who I am?" She said to me, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "No, I don't know who you are." And she said, "Well, I am the secretary of the director of Asumen, which is the agency." And I said, "And you are going to call me on Monday because I am going to help you with all your." And I said, "Oh my God, I just couldn't." It was so confirming. It was a direct confirmation of what it was. I was totally, and how could I have known this, right? Incredible. Just incredible, just like that, and like that, I started to feel a lot of confirmations about a lot of things, that one of the other, the next one, and the next one. It was so overpowering, it was like to, so that I wouldn't fall back into all that negative thoughts and emotions that I was feeling, so that that would keep me inspired to keep on in this way, and being more aware of what I chose to think and believe and feel, and how I needed to keep on purging emotional vibration that I had. So that did inspire me and uplifted me, to keep, so that I would feel accompanied. I felt like I was always being guided. I was with somebody now. I wasn't alone. I wasn't alone, because I felt very, very, very alone before that, very extremely. Not anymore. That has all gone. I know I was being guided. I knew it. Everything was so, every confirmation was so outstanding, that I was like, oh my God, and everything one after the other one. Oh, it was like that, very, very extremely powerful. Yeah.
Are you still in communication with God today?
Yes, I am.
How often does that happen?
Well, I would have to take you back to because he was showing me all this, but I was in the way between that first intervention and my second intervention, because I did have a second one. I had some tests, if I may say, to see if I had decided to trust the process, and let go of control, of trying to control the results in my life. So, and if I was actually in awareness now of my own emotions, and if I was applying this to my life, so right there and then I had my second test, which was Hurricane Maria. As you know, Hurricane Maria came to Puerto Rico in 2017 also. And right before, I had dreams and revelations that this would happen here. I couldn't believe it. And I knew it was going to be a very bad situation. And specifically for me, it was hard. It took me 2 years to overcome this one, this one test. But in the midst of this terrible situation, this traumatic situation for the whole island and for my own self, because my house suffered significant damage. I have a lot of glass in my house. And I mean, the hurricane ripped off doors and sliding doors and windows, glass windows. It was terrible. In the middle of all this, if I don't know how I would have lived through that experience of the hurricane had I not had that first intervention, because it was so traumatic. And but right there and there, I decided that I would surrender again. I would surrender and I would trust the process and just like I did that, everything started to fall in place magically again. I got the opportunity to leave the island in a humanitarian cruise. And honestly, Jeff, this was an experience I cannot explain to you because, again, I felt all the time the divine presence with me throughout how this happened. Thousands of people were trying to leave the island at that moment. And me with my kids and I were privileged enough to be able to make it. It took us 6 hours to board the cruise. And while I was there watching all these sick people, all kinds of people, and I could see that they were bringing animals, and animals inside the cruise. I was surprised and I asked, and so I felt, honestly, I've always said I felt like I was boarding Noah's Ark.
I was thinking that too.
Well, that's how exactly it felt. All kinds of animals and people desperate to get up. It took me 6 hours to be able to board. And I was so thankful that I could leave and join my family in the States, Miami. And the whole process was surreal. That's how it was. Because I felt like in the movie Life is Beautiful, this is how I felt. Like the little kid that inside the turmoil and what the traumatic events that were happening, in the midst of all that, he was living a true fantasy, because being in a cruise with everything paid and all these shows going on, like if anything, it was like magical for me, honestly, after living what I lived in my house. And so right there, I was touched by these events profoundly. And then right after that, so it seemed they decided that I had passed that test. I had passed that one also. And I even had, when I came back, it took me 2 months to come back to my house, but I even had a job for me as an adjuster, as an insurance adjuster, emergency insurance adjuster. And because of all the insurance claims there were in the island, there were not enough people to deal with all that, and the insurance companies were looking for emergency adjusters. So I even had a job that I could, it was, and it was incredible. And then right after that came my second test to see, and they leveled me up again. And while I was working there in the insurance company, I was diagnosed with a ovary tumor on my right tumor. And this one also highly charged, highly emotional, because when they tell you that you have cancer, what goes through your mind. But I knew I was being tested like once again. if I was gonna go and surrender. I received this continuously. How are you gonna deal with this now? And I just felt guided. It's the way that I just felt that they were I knew it was a test to see how I was doing with my learning, that I was being taught on how I should handle things and how I should deal with situations in my life, my personal life. And so I decided again to surrender that also, surrender control. And so my oncologist told me that I had to be operated on. So I had to have a surgery. And I said, let's do it. And in November 8th, 2018, I went into surgery, and I cannot tell you because I remember going in at 4:10, and I went to the emergency. I was drawn into the surgery ward at 7 o'clock, and I was waiting there until 4. I was the last person to get in to surgery that day. And so I met everyone and spoke to everyone, and I was in good spirits, and I knew that everything was going to be okay. Everything. I kept receiving messages, divine messages, just knowing that everything was going to be okay. And so it was then, and right after this, that that I was sent to my house for recuperation for a month and a half. And I live in a 2-story house. And so I had to leave everything prepared because I live here. I don't have family here. So nobody could take care of me, right, during those days. So I prepared everything in my room and upstairs so that I couldn't come down the stairs once I went up. And I sent my kids, somebody to care for them because I couldn't take care of them. And it was in this silence that I had my second powerful intervention with God, with that. And it was then because it was like in this silence, since the only thing I had was my computer. And in my room, I do have TV, but I didn't feel called to turn it on. Everything was through the computer. I started to have dreams, lucid dreams, that I sprung up in my bed and saw visions, started to see number visions. And I immediately heard like voices speaking to me, but this time I could differentiate somehow the difference between God and other beings. I could hear sounds, like tuning sounds, like even a radio, right? When you're tuning, ooh, and when I heard that intuitively, I knew that a message immediately would come up to my mind. A thought would come, and they were communicating with me. And when I saw the numbers, like for example, they told me, and I said, what's going on with me? I didn't know what spiritual awakening was. So they told me, look for spiritual awakening in the computer. I had never heard that word before in my life. And right there, I started to Google up everything that I was being told to Google up. And I started reading and seeing, and then the numbers, the visions of numbers, and they told me, look for it, for that, the meaning of numbers, such and such, this sequence. Look for, like, the first number I saw actually has a revelation that that this podcast, this interview had to do a lot with, because the first numbers I saw at that time were 1155, and they told me, look for that number, look for the meaning of that number. And now I know that number 1 means new beginnings, and number 5 signifies it's the number of change. And I was being told, right, guided up to this moment, and what I'm doing right now, and how profound this is, this new way of living, and what I'm doing right now. Because remember, I'm an entrepreneur, and I used to do interior design and events. I'm also a marketing and events manager. I've worked in public relations for a long time, and this was, the areas that I used to work with. But now I since my first intervention, and especially with this second one, right? This second, the hitting of the spiritual awakening, I've changed my life totally, totally. And so I started to have all these when I mean overpowering, and they were continuous every single night. And then I would wake up with downloads, huge downloads. I started to know about energy, things that I had never in my quantum physics, maths. I felt like I was inside the internet, and I had access to all, and I knew all the information inside the internet in my head. And I was questioning, how can I know this? How can I have known this before? Astrology, numerology, even tarot. How could I have known? All this information was to my avail, and now I had it inside my head. And during the process, I thought I was going crazy at that time. But then I started to see that a lot of people undergo spiritual awakenings, and I since I was being guided to look for it in the internet, I started to see. And as I looked, more and more information started to pop up in my computer, and information that they wanted me to pay attention. So they told me, you need to see about archaeology, history, because you see, then from here on, the Bible was used in a profound way in my awakening. They wanted me to see understand religion, the difference between religion and spirituality, and how science and religion, while they are things that obviously are always contradicting each other, right? And we see we're always talking about the same thing, truly. And through the Bible, they started comparing. Then I knew it was Jesus. This specific conversations, I knew it was Jesus speaking to me. And because I had all these religious beliefs from my upbringing in my head of who God and Jesus, and I was very confused. And all this was cleared up so that I could see and understand.
Let me stop you there real
yes.
quick. Some of my other guests have spoke to me about surrendering, and
Yes.
surrendering seemed to be a big issue for you. Why is it so necessary, in your opinion, that we need to surrender?
Yes, because mankind is so, we're so into our physical lives, and we learn to do this, okay? This is what I've been told. We learn by when our ego sets in, right? Our ego is we create by age 6 and 7, we create our ego. And our ego is our personality and our character. And basically, this is who we think. We think by thinking and learning to interact with our peers and our parents and what we're being told from the outside. We take an opinion, we make an opinion about who we think we are. And based on that and the outside expectations of our environment, we tend to think that we need to control everything in our lives, when truly this is not it. This is not it. And surrendering this control, number one, gives the opportunity for the spiritual side to give us guidance, because this is the divine order we were created in. Atoms were created first, right? So for us to exist, if atoms did not exist, we would not be here. Nothing would be here. Nothing would exist as it is. So I was told that we needed to surrender to the soul, which was and by the soul, I mean our emotions was the link. Again, they reminded me that emotions were the link, and surrendered to the knowing that was within us already, because we had always existed. So there was no death as such. We will always be. We are eternal beings, multidimensional eternal beings. And that knowledge is already within us. And we were doing it in the reverse way we were supposed to address life. We needed to surrender to the knowing within us, within our souls. But we needed to retrieve that information. And then with that information, lower down, silence our brain, our thoughts, and understand that it is the soul, the GPS that we needed to surrender to that knowing and trust that before, and let that lead you in your life instead of your thoughts and your decisions. Let that knowing be the one that guides you, because the mind is not going to be assertive. Never. Only soul, because it is there before and after this lifetime, right? It always will prevail. So there wasn't. What's the point of trying to control what the soul has to give you? So we needed to open to through our emotions, connect, live in self-awareness of our emotions, and connect with our soul, with the knowledge within us.
Right.
That's
Vanessa,
the answer they gave me.
Vanessa, I'm running out of time with you, so
Oh, yeah?
I need to switch gears. And I didn't mention in the beginning that you're an author. What is the
Yes.
title of your book, and where can people find out about it?
My book it's right now being edited. So it's an unpublished book right now. It is called Chase Your Soul. Chase your soul, because again, the soul is the way, and this is what I've been told. We have to do things in the reverse, connect with our soul in order to be able to manifest the things that we truly want in the physical. So my book it's unpublished, but I'm right now working to set up all this so that I can publish it, and I'm looking for publishing company looking for all those things because I've never done this before. But this book came to me in the third intervention that I had. That was the most powerful one. When I was told my mission, I was revealed of my mission, and my mission was to explain this divine order in how we needed to live and do things in the reverse, and to teach people about our emotions. That's why I am certifying myself as a biodecoder. I've been doing that and helping people through that, because since my situation with the tumor, that I have to say, I am totally healed from.
That's
because
great.
I received a healing. I was taught during my stay in my house, I was taught about how, because I was doing things in the reverse way of how I needed to do things, how I could change that and be healed. So when I got to my doctor said, Vanessa, you don't have, I'm happy to tell you, I don't have to see you ever again, not as a patient, never again. I'm totally healed, Jeff, totally healed. And I did this on my own because I was being taught while being in my house on how we create our own diseases and dis-ease in our life, and how we need to reverse the order in which we are addressing life. How important this is, definitely.
All right. Well, when your book is published, be sure to send me the link, and then
Sure,
I'll put it
yes.
in the description of the video.
Yes.
Do
yes.
you have a website?
I am right now opening all this. I'm doing all this because I'm trying to build a community called Evo Life 360. Because from the book, I did do a course that I wanted to test. I tested the course with 30 people, and on how to do this for themselves, and I've been helping others knowing how to heal themselves, knowing how to start knowing themselves in a deeper way, in a deeper manner, and facing our past traumas, because always it has to, everything that happens in our lives, current lives, it's because of emotional attachment. Everything, Jeff, everything is because of our emotional attachments. And when we become aware of we all have them, okay? Ones to one level and others to another level, but we all have them. And we need to make a priority, because when we do this, we are working with ourselves, making our life takes a quantum leap in every aspect, and also we impact the universe, okay, because we're a part of a whole. But right now, Evo Life is a community I'm trying to build, and I'm trying to do this web page with, so that we can connect. I do have Facebook.
Do you have a Facebook page for this?
Under my name, Vanessa Vega. They can look, and it's public. It's a public. I do lives on Wednesday nights.
Okay.
I connect there, and they're public. All the videos are there, and they are public. And I also do personal coaching here on how to understand and help people, guide people into knowing how to heal, how to do this, how to biodecode their lives, so that they can have total well-being. And that's what Evo Life is. Evo Life is a community of people living purposely, becoming awakened, so that we can contribute. If we want to see a good world, right? A world that all of us, we want to see this happen, and not with wars and all this discrimination and all what's going on. We need to look at our own selves, and surrender to the soul.
If you'd like, send me a link to your Facebook page, or however,
Yes.
or your Facebook profile, and I'll put it in the description so people can find you.
Oh, great. I'll do that. I'll make sure I do that. Yes. They can find me also in by email if they want. I do have Evo Live 360. I'm gonna show. I don't know if it's gonna be on the. I don't know if that's Evo Live. We're working. This they gave me yesterday, so this is the logo that we're gonna have for the community.
It's nice.
Yeah, Evo Live 360. This is the Taurus.
Right,
the Taurus, right? Energy.
So what is your email address?
And evolife360@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody can reach me there, and I surely will answer anybody that needs help or that wants to know how I did it for myself and how I'm doing it, because definitely my life has taken a quantum leap in all aspects. Yes, definitely.
All right, Vanessa, before we finish up, can you leave us with one last positive message?
This message is what I'm trying to tell you right now. You are light. You are divine light, each one of you. Please don't let your circumstances, no matter what circumstances you're facing, make you believe that you are less than what you're living, because you're so much more. Just because you can't see it, right? We can, when we're not awakened, we cannot see it. But make it a priority to love yourself enough to investigate, to go inner within and connect with your own selves, and let this light shine through you and give you all the guidance that you need in life, because you'll never go wrong. You'll never, ever go wrong.
Thank you for that message. And Vanessa, thank you for being my guest.
Oh, it's been a true pleasure. Yes. Truly, truly, truly. Very nice meeting you. And thanks to all of you for having me.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.